It starts, as most things do, with a smell. The wooden slats beneath your paws reek of old fish, pitch, and something sharply herbal, like moldy hay soaked in ink. You wrinkle your nose, but you do not move. You're wedged between a half-torn sack of flour and a crate marked with something scratchy and foreign. Bohea tea, Canton. The crate is warm. That's what matters. Outside, men shout. Their boots strike the dock with angry rhythm, but their voices are hushed in a way that means secrets. Humans are always secretive when they're about to do something stupid. You flick your tail against the rough burlap. It smells like salt and soap and fear. Someone was sweating when they packed this ship. Probably still is. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Leave a comment with your location and what time it is where you are. I love seeing where you're all tuning in from. Now, dim the lights. Take a breath. Let yourself settle into the wooden creaks, the sound of the harbor tide slapping against hulls like a tired heartbeat. You are not moving, but the world around you is. A drop of cold drips from the ceiling and lands squarely between your ears. It's the kind of insult only a New England winter can deliver. You stretch a paw out and dig your claws gently into the side of the tea crate, not out of anger, simply to remind the box who's in charge. You're a cat. You do not care for revolutions. You care for warmth, and perhaps the occasional mouse. There hasn't been one in 3 days, though you heard one laughing in the grain hold last night. Bold little rat. Probably a patriot. Above, heavy footsteps stomp across the deck. You know the sound of sailors. Muddy, thoughtless, beer sour. These are different. Lighter. Quieter. They smell like wool, ale, and purpose. That's never good. One curious theory says animals can sense political unrest. You're not sure what politics are, but unrest smells like wet leather and burnt sugar. Something thuds, then another. A voice whispers, "Do it now." You blink slowly. A breath of cold air slips through the cracks in the hold. It smells like ash and gunpowder, also lavender. Someone's wife tucked a sachet into their coat. You imagine he's the nervous one, the one whose hands will shake when he lifts the lid. The crate above you shifts. Wood groans. You hiss, very softly. A hand reaches in, gloved, rough. It grips the edge of the box. You tense, but they don't see you. They never do. You're smoke in the shadows, a whisker beneath their notice. Someone grunts. Something spills. Leaves, dry and brittle, scatter across the deck like brittle moths. They don't smell like tea. They smell like anger, pretending to be principle. You wonder, vaguely, if anyone will feed you after this. One man says, "For liberty," and throws the tea into the sea. You yawn. The scent of destruction is oddly sweet. Molasses, seawater, and distant gunfire. You've smelled worse. Like your own fur after falling asleep in lamp oil. You shift deeper into your crate. Tea leaves flutter onto your back. They tickle, but you do not move. You have survived worse. Like that child with sticky fingers and no concept of boundaries. Outside voices rise, cheering, chanting. They sound proud, triumphant. You wonder if they'll still cheer when they realize they've ruined a perfectly good shipment of nap spots. You breathe in, steam, sweat, cold iron, tobacco breath, salt air, wet paws. And just as the night seems ready to split apart into noise and fire, The crate lid slides closed again. Darkness settles. You purr, low and dry. And somewhere in the harbor the revolution begins, without you. But the next night, it will smell different, worse. And you'll be there, still curled in tea. There's a drip now, a new one, colder, more insistent. It plinks against the inside of the crate at regular intervals, like a bored god tapping its finger. You try to ignore it, but it echoes in your skull like a threat wrapped in fog. Outside, Boston wakes slowly. It smells like damp wood and uneasy pride. The water still tastes of leaves, bitter ones. Someone's going to have to drink that, eventually. You stretch, long, slow, one paw at a time, and knock over a small pile of tea that had gathered on your side. The leaves make a soft rustle, like a skirt being dropped on a stone floor. You've heard that sound before. In the tailor's shop 2 winters ago. That was a better crate, warmer. Also, it came with cheese. You blink, once, twice. Let yourself drift. The morning light doesn't reach you here. It's filtered through wood, through slats, through damp intentions. Still, it glows enough for the mice to stay cautious. They are smarter than the men outside. From above, boots again, not the same ones. These are heavier, louder, filled with authority and starch. Someone is inspecting. You hear the voice say, "We'll need a report." Another answers, "They wore paint on their faces, mohawk style." He says it like he's explaining thunder to a chair. You are the chair and the thunder. The men argue about damages. One says the word treason with too much confidence. Another hisses the word heroes. You've seen humans do this before, wrestling ideas with words like they'll ever win. You twitch your tail. You're hungry. One curious theory says the harbor cat population swelled during the unrest. Rats got bold, ships brought more food, and someone kept sneaking sausage into the dry goods. You've found no sausages, just whispers, salt, and stale flour. Your paws are coated in tea dust now. It smells faintly sweet, like dried grass and regret. You lick it, experimentally. Then stop. Not everything should be tasted. You've learned this, mostly from experience. A distant bell rings, somewhere in the north, maybe near the church. It's not a call to prayer. It's a call to reckoning. Or perhaps breakfast. Either way, no one's bringing you anything. You climb slowly out of the crate. The floor is cold and slick, stained with brine and footprints. Someone tracked soot across the planks. Their boots were square-toed, new, nervous. You imagine they practiced their revolution speech in front of a mirror. You step around the soot. You are dainty when you want to be. A child's voice filters in from outside, shrill, untrained. He says, "Mother says we've won." His words carry the smug finality of someone who's never cleaned a floor. You press your nose to the crack in the door. Outside, there's chaos pretending to be calm. Men unloading crates, soldiers watching windows, an old woman shouting about property rights, a dog barking at a seagull and losing. You sigh. You've lived through storms, fire, one very aggressive goose. This too shall pass. But the scent on the air is changing. It's not just tea anymore. It's paper, ink, blood, just a little, not spilled yet but promised. And something underneath it all. Metal, still in the forge. Law, not yet written. Someone above says, "This will change everything." You know better. It changes nothing for the mice. They still run. It changes nothing for the crates. They still splinter. It changes nothing for you. You're still hungry. You curl beneath the ledge, tail around your nose, and listen to the sounds of a country cracking open like a soft-shelled crab. It tastes like brine. It smells like parchment. And tomorrow someone will try to write history. But tonight, you're still here. Tired, tea-dusted, unbothered, and something's coming in the fog. You can hear it purring. You wake because someone is crying, not weeping, not wailing, just the slow, tight sobs of a man trying not to be heard. You've heard this before, in alleyways, in church steps, in empty storerooms where pride has no one left to impress. You stretch in silence. The floor beneath you is colder than before. The harbor fog has crept in like a thief and settled over everything, a wet wool blanket you never asked for. Outside, the dock groans under the weight of early carts, wheels stutter across loose planks, a barrel tips, a fishmonger curses at the wind. You flick one ear toward the noise and listen, not for danger, not exactly, but for anything resembling breakfast. It doesn't come. In the kenna, you slip between two crates like spilled smoke. Your fur brushes old rope, frayed and stiff with salt. It smells like sweat and mildew and horses long dead. There's movement ahead. You pause. Now breathe. Let the damp air fill your nose. It carries 1,000 stories and at least 3 types of cheese. You smell none of them here. The crying man is slumped behind a stack of ledgers. His coat is wool, green, too fine for dock work. Clerk, perhaps, or something softer. His shoes are worn, his hands ink-stained. You recognize the type. Well-fed but poorly built. He would not last in a winter crawl space. He mutters to himself, pages trembling in his grasp. 300 chests, he says. All of it gone. You blink at him unamused. One curious theory says the East India Company lost more to American cats than to colonial rebels. The ledgers never showed it, of course, but someone had to chew through those ropes. Someone had to claw the inspector's pant leg when he reached for the manifests. You circle him once. His foot shifts. He doesn't see you. No one ever does, not really. You live between attention and assumption. You are never the point. That is your power. A soft scratching draws your attention. The rat, the one from the grain hold. You smell him before you see him, wet fur and cocky footsteps. He's gotten bold since the night of the tea. Everyone has. He scurries along a beam above, pausing to sneeze. You watch with narrowed eyes. He watches back. This is not politics. This is war. You pounce. The beam groans as you leap, claws slicing the air, but the rat dives through a hole in the wall with all the grace of a drunk acrobat. He laughs. You swear he laughs. You land with a grunt on a sack of barley. It bursts slightly beneath you, grains scattering like panicked ants. The smell is sharp, nutty, dry. You sneeze. From above, a siler barks, "What was that?" Another answers, "Just the cat again." You flatten against the sack and do not move. It's always just the cat, until it isn't. Now the men are talking again. Plans, names, lists. The one with the hat says, "If we can rattle Parliament this much over tea, imagine what we can do next." He says it like a man placing bets with someone else's coins. The other one says nothing, just chews. You smell meat, salted pork. Your stomach makes a noise unbecoming of your dignity. But you stay low, you listen, you watch. The world rearranges itself again and again, and you, like always, adapt. The crying man has stopped. He folds his papers with shaking hands, stands up, and walks out the door. He doesn't notice the paw prints on the ledger. He doesn't see the tea leaf still stuck to your tail. And as the morning deepens and the dark begins to hum with industry, you retreat to the far side of the hold, behind the loose plank you've claimed as your den. You curl into yourself. The sun will rise, papers will be filed, and someone will write an account of last night that does not include you. But you were there, and just as you begin to drift, your ears catch a new sound. Wheels on stone, faster than usual, hooves. Something's coming from the north. It smells like fire. You've smelled fire before. The kind that dances in fireplaces, soft and sleepy, smelling of pine and soup bones. The kind that hisses beneath blacksmith bellows, smelling of iron and rage. But this is different. This fire smells like fear wearing a powdered wig. You blink awake just as the first cart thunders past the dock. Its wheels shriek against stone. The horses lathered in sweat, their reins pulled by a man too well dressed to belong here. His coat is crimson, his expression pale. You stretch your spine until it pops. You listen. Dark hands pause, tools still in hand, the kind of stillness that's louder than shouting. Someone spits, someone else mutters. Another message from the governor. You know better. This isn't a message. This is the kind of visit that makes buildings nervous. You creep from your hiding place and slip through the gap in the wall. Outside, the city is gray, sky like tin, streets damp and mean. You smell snow, not yet fallen, but waiting. The man in red disappears around the bend, toward the main square. Others follow, slower, papers tucked under arms, boots clicking like clock hands losing time. And beneath it all, a murmur. People whisper in corners. Shops open slower. Doors stay locked just a second too long. Boston is shifting its weight like a cat unsure whether to pounce or run. You know the feeling. You pause beneath a fish stall, its roof sagging with last week's rain. The wood smells of salt and disappointment. A fisherman stares out at the water like it's failed him personally. You curl behind a bucket and listen. They say the king's furious, he says, that heads will roll. The other man grunts. Let 'em roll 'em. We're not paying their bloody taxes. A third adds, aye, and maybe we'll be rid of those lobsterbacks for good. They laugh, but it's brittle, like bread left out too long. You've chewed better jokes. A gull screams overhead. You flatten your ears. One curious theory says cats remember the faces of those who feed them and those who don't. You remember this fishmonger. He once threw a herring at you and missed. You've never forgotten. You slink away down a narrow alley, its walls close and crumbling. It smells of vinegar, rotting pears, and secrets. A cat's paradise. Ahead, a window cracked open. Inside, parchment flutters like a wounded bird. A woman sits at a table, quill in hand, brows drawn tight. She writes slowly, carefully. You read none of it, but the ink smells angry. A child coughs in the next room. Thin, hollow. The kind of cough winter always collects. You perch on the windowsill and stare in. The woman doesn't notice. She dips the quill again, writes the word rebellion, then price, then stops. You wonder if she's trying to sell it. You wouldn't blame her. People will sell anything if the snow's deep enough. A door slams below. You vanish like breath on glass. In the street, another cart rolls past. This one quieter. Guarded, guarded. A soldier sits stiff at the front, face set like carved stone. His musket rests across his knees. It smells of powder and rust and accidents waiting to happen. You follow. From shadow to barrel to stairwell, you trace his path. He doesn't see you. None of them do. The cart turns into a side lane toward the armory. You don't need to know what's inside. You can already hear it humming. Metal, wood, war. You wait. You breathe. And as the wind shifts, bringing with it the stink of cold ash and hot iron, you turn your eyes toward the harbor. Even the ships seem nervous now, their masts swaying like unsure dancers, ropes creaking, flags limp. This is not a pause. It's a breath held too long. And you? You're just a cat, curled in a doorway, dust in your whiskers, tail twitching at things no one else notices. But the air tastes like change, like salt and soot and something sharp beneath the surface. And tomorrow? Tomorrow, someone will ask where it all began, and the answer will be simple. It began in silence, in crates, in tea, and in places too small for humans to look. You don't know what day it is, but the bread is stale. That's usually a clue. You find the loaf outside a tavern, crust cracked, torn by something bigger than you but dumber. Maybe a dog, maybe a drunk. Either way, it's yours now. You drag it under the porch where the wood smells like old beer and burnt grease. It tastes like wood smoke and indifference. You chew slowly. It helps pass the morning. The city is quieter today. Not calm, never calm, but slower. Carts move like they're carrying more than goods. Soldiers walk in pairs now, rifles polished, faces blank. They do not whistle. Even the mice are quiet. You stretch, your spine pops, the crust cracks. Something inside scuttles, possibly alive, possibly just imagination. You eat it anyway. Now take a breath, the kind you only take when the cold has numbed your whiskers and your paws hurt less when you stop feeling them. The harbor smells different, no longer just salt and tea and fish rot. There's something new beneath it all, a note of paper. Wet ink, heated brass. Not war, but its outline. You pad toward the edge of the square. The cobblestones are slick, frozen mud, iron wheel ruts, a smear of something red. Probably beet juice. Hopefully beet juice. You crouch behind a wheelbarrow where an old man is arguing with a younger one. The old man's voice creaks like bad timber. I remember the last war. People thought it'd last a month. It ate 6 winters. The younger one doesn't answer, just stares at the frost gathering in the corners of a window across the street. Frost in the shape of cracks, or maybe maps. You look up. The sky is the color of pewter. No sun. Just a pale suggestion of it. You lick your paw and wash your face. The wind hits harder when you're clean, but dignity is worth discomfort. From the docks comes a clatter, barrels knocked over. A sharp voice barks, "We said no more shipments without inspection." You don't turn toward the noise. You've learned that some sounds are better seen through scent than sight. It smells like paper again, wet paper, and something sour underneath. You move through the alley behind the print shop. Its windows are fogged, but the door is cracked. Inside, men are hunched over presses. The air tastes like hot metal and ink and sweat. They print faster now. Pages flutter like frightened birds. The headlines use words like incident, occupation, and resolve. No one says cat. No one ever does. One curious theory says animals leave no mark on history. But history is written by humans, and humans don't always look down. You do, and beneath the press table you see something small, scuttling. Familiar? The rat. You step forward, silent as ash. He freezes, his tail flicks, you both wait. Then he dives through a crack in the wall. You lunge, your claws catch wood, splinters, air, nothing else. A man yells, "What was that?" Another, "Just the bloody cat." You slink back out the door. Just the cat. Always just the cat. You climb a barrel and watch the crowd gathering near the square. Not a riot, not yet. Just a gathering of cold limbs and colder questions. A preacher holds up a pamphlet. He shouts about liberty. Someone else counters with loyalty. A third person offers bread. No one takes it. You turn your head slowly, ears twitching. A single note rings through the air, clear, hard, distant. A bell, not from a church, not from the dock. A signal. You feel it in your chest before you understand it. Your fur lifts, your back arches. The wind dies. And somewhere behind you, boots begin to run. You don't wait. You leap from the barrel, skid down the alley, and vanish beneath the tavern steps. Your claws scrape stone. Your breath mists in the cold. Above, someone screams. Not in pain, yet, but in panic. The kind that comes when the story you were told stops matching the story you're in. You curl in on yourself, tuck nose to tail, you wait. And as the shouting grows louder, a sudden snowfall begins, thin, soft, almost delicate. It carries no scent yet, but it will. And tomorrow someone will blame someone else. Someone will write the words "it began suddenly." But you know better. It began slowly, and it hasn't really begun yet. You do not sleep that night. You try. You close your eyes. You curl tighter than usual, tail pressed to chin, paws folded like parchment corners. But the air won't stay still. It moves strangely, like someone pacing without feet, like someone watching without eyes. The tavern above creaks under restless weight. Chairs scrape, men mutter, glass clinks only once, then silence. Even drunkenness hesitates tonight. Outside, the wind carries no snow, but smells like it anyway, bitter and metallic, like milk gone wrong, like teeth. You breathe through your mouth. It helps, a little. The rat doesn't come. You listen for him even now. His tiny pride, his smug feet. But nothing stirs. Not a whisker. Not a scuffle. You'd feel triumphant if it didn't feel like warning. Take a breath. Now another. Let yourself sink lower into the wood, into the dust, into the story. The sky outside your hiding place glows a bruised gray. Not quite night, not quite morning, just the long in-between waits where time waits to see who moves first. And Boston twitches. You hear it in the ropes swaying gently on the mast. You hear it in the way someone fumbles a lock too fast on Milk Street. You hear it in the soldier who drops his cartridge box and swears in a language that tastes like vinegar and exile. Something has shifted. One curious theory says cats can hear earthquakes before they come. You believe it. Because this isn't thunder. This isn't hooves. This is the sound of a city about to choose. You slip from the shadows and climb toward higher ground. The rooftops are slick with frost. Chimneys puff like nervous sighs. You perch beside a crooked dormer window and look down. In the square, torches. Men with flags. Men without hats. Women pulling children back toward doorways. Paper nailed to posts. Words like assembly, blockade, and justice. And something worse. Uniforms. The red ones again. Not many, just enough to make it not a riot. Not yet. You move carefully across the rooftop, pause silent as breath. Below, a boy throws a snowball too hard. It hits a sergeant's boot. No one laughs. Not even the boy. You stop beside a chimney. It smells like ash and bacon and fear. The good kind. The kind that keeps people quiet. From the harbor, a ship groans as it anchors deeper. Ropes tighten, chains rattle. You recognize the ship by scent. It's the same that brought the tea. Its belly is empty now, but its name still stinks of bruised cargo and broken orders. You settle in beside a rusted weather vane shaped like a rooster missing half its beak. The wind pushes against your fur. It's stronger now, meaner. And below, someone throws a rock. It misses. But that doesn't matter. What matters is that someone threw it. What matters is the silence after. Then, a voice. Sharp. Authority with no echo. Then, a crack. Then, running. You leap, claws scrabbling on slate, and drop onto a windowsill 3 stories down. Your heart beats faster than it should. You hate that. You slip into the room through a broken shutter. Inside, warm air and laundry and lamp oil. A girl sits on the floor, crying quietly. A cat-shaped doll in her lap. You do not move. She does not see you. She says, "Papa said they'd just talk." You say nothing, because even if you could speak, what would you say? That humans lie? That tea never mattered? That crates are not coffins until someone nails them shut? You blink slowly. The girl curls into herself and hums a tune made of memory and bedtime. You retreat to the corner, where a pile of forgotten linen still holds the ghost of soap and sun. You curl into it. Outside, voices rise. Something burns. Someone cheers. You smell gunpowder, but only faintly. It isn't war. Not yet. But it's close enough that even the birds have stopped singing. And just as you drift towards sleep, a new sound breaks the stillness. Not boots, not shouts. A bell. Not for prayer. Not for trade. This one is for gathering, and whatever comes next will not be polite. The linens smell like sunlight long gone. They hold the ghost of a quiet morning. Lavender soap, ironed folds, someone humming near a hearth. You sink deeper into them, pretending the outside world has gone silent, that it will stay that way. It will. The bell keeps ringing, not frantic, not fast, but steady, relentless, the kind of bell you feel in your spine You open your eyes. The girl is gone. The doll, too. Her scent lingers. Sugary breath, cold hands, something faintly like apples. You hope she went somewhere warm. You hope someone remembered her mittens. You slip out through the shutter and onto the ledge. Boston has changed. The smoke rising from the far end of the square is darker now. Heavier. More honest. Not the playful puff of chimneys, but the curling, greasy scent of barrels lit too soon. You smell pitch. You smell anger. You smell wet wool scorched by mistake. You leap down to a lower rooftop. Your paws land soft on slate. Beneath you, the streets churn. People don't walk anymore. They like a tide that forgot how to recede. Every direction pulses with voices. Some shout, some chant, some whisper. All of them carry heat. You taste it on your tongue. Sour, metallic, a little like pennies left too long in a child's mouth. And still, that bell. Now take a breath. Hold it. Let it rattle around your ribs. Now let it go. You crouch beneath an awning as a squad of soldiers passes. Their coats are immaculate. Their boots loud. One man's face is too young for what he's carrying. Another's eyes look at nothing. You smell their fear and clings to them like starch. Across the street, pamphlets scatter in the wind. One slaps against your paw. You bat it away. It reads, "Stand now or kneel forever." You resist the urge to sit on it out of principle. Humans and their ultimatums. You slink toward the docks. There the mood is different, quieter, but not calmer. Workers huddle around barrels, their voices hushed, eyes darting. You recognize one of them. He once gave you a piece of eel skin in the rain. You respected him for that. He looks older now, or maybe just tired. They're loading something. Not cargo, not crates. You blink slowly. You curl your tail. You watch. One curious theory says cities breathe, that they inhale people and exhale stories. If that's true, Boston is holding its breath right now, and the exhale will sting. You step through a crack in the dock boards and descend to the lower mooring planks. It smells like algae, cold rope, rusted chains, the kind of smell that settles in your fur and doesn't leave for days. Below the main dock you find him, the rat. He's sitting on a coil of rope like he owns it. His whiskers twitch. He's chewing something, you can't tell what. You don't care. You approach slowly. He doesn't run this time. He looks at you like a creature who's made peace with the inevitable. You pause. He offers you a bit of whatever he's chewing. You do not take it. But you don't kill him either. Instead, you both sit side by side, in silence, as the bell fades and the shouting grows louder. Upstairs, someone is yelling. Orders, maybe, or prayers. A shot rings out in the distance. The rat flinches. You do not. You've heard worse. You've smelt worse. You've been worse. The rat sighs. A strange, tiny sound. You both know this isn't the end. It's not even the middle. It's just the part where everyone decides how loud they want to be. And you? You're already loud enough just by being here. You rise. Shake out your fur. The rat does the same. You nod to him once. He doesn't nod back. But he watches as you walk away. And as you vanish into the shadows beneath the dock, the wind shifts again. It brings with it the smell of wax, wet paper, and something faintly charred. Someone is printing something new, and this time the ink smells like war. You haven't eaten properly in 2 days. You've licked flour from a floorboard crack. You've found half a fish spine in an alley. You've chewed something that may once have been cheese or soap or both. But nothing fills you. Not your belly. Not this city. Boston has become a noise with no silence between its beats. Even at night, even beneath floors and behind crates, the tension hums. It's in the hinges, in the rafters, in your paws. You slink through the cold. Your fur is damp where the snow melted, then froze again. Your whiskers tremble not from fear, but from exhaustion. Still, you move. Because that's what survivors do. Now stop. Let the cold settle into your fur. Feel how the air cuts just behind the ears, the place that never grows thick enough to shield you. You crouch in the shadows behind a bakery. It used to smell like comfort. Yeast, sugar, scorched raisins. Now it smells like wet soot and burned promises. The windows are dark. The ovens are cold. Someone's chalked the word traitor on the door. You don't know who owned the place, but they once left bread crusts on the sill for birds, and occasionally for you. You press your nose to the crack in the back door. Nothing. You climb the stacked crates beside the alley. At the top, a roof edge slick with frost. You pause. A single paw tests the surface. It holds. Just. Below, 2 women argue over a basket. One says, "They took the flour." The other says, "We had to let them." The basket is empty. They are not angry with each other, just hungry. You settle on the edge and watch. And then a voice. It's small, flat, uncertain. "Judith?" You turn your head. A child. A boy, maybe 7. Bare hands, no coat. He's standing near a fence with one shoe and no direction. His cheeks are raw from wind, his eyes red. He steps closer. "You're the one from the tavern, right? The one that sleeps in the barrels?" You say nothing. He crouches. His joints crack. His breath fogs. From his pocket, he pulls a small, hard crust, breaks it in 2, places half on the ground, slides it toward you. "Papa says you shouldn't feed animals right now." You consider the bread. It's dry, it's stale, it's everything you need. You walk forward, slow, deliberate. Let him hear your paws on the snow-crusted wood. Let him see you blink once, then twice. That's trust. That's a promise not to scratch. You take the crust gently. You chew it with reverence. It tastes like dust and sugar and kindness. You sit beside him. He doesn't reach for you, just sits, quiet, staring at the street. "They say the soldiers might come again," he says. "Mama says we should leave, but Papa says, this is our home." You don't respond. You've lived in too many homes to think one can't burn. One curious theory says cats adopt humans, not the other way around. If that's true, you haven't chosen this boy, not exactly. But you're watching him. That's something. He stands, wipes his nose with the back of his hand. "I gotta go." He doesn't pet you. He doesn't say goodbye. He just disappears into the white mist, curling between buildings like a slow exhale. You curl your tail tighter. Your belly is no longer empty. Not full, not satisfied, but no longer hollow. The sun peeks through a crack in the clouds, just enough to cast a pale light across the street. You see the ash footprints left behind by something heavy. A boot, a barrel, a decision. They're leading toward the town hall, and from there something new is beginning. Something with horns and lists and uniforms that fit too well. You turn toward it. You don't run, but you don't linger either. And just as you step back into shadow, a scent brushes against your nose. Blood. Cedarwood. Someone's drawing lines on a map, and you are standing on one. The map is never drawn for you. No street names scratched in fishbone. No symbols for warmth or quiet or hidden holes behind crates. No dotted lines for where the bread crusts fall most often. No legend for danger that smells like wool and steel. But you know the city anyway. You carry it in your whiskers, in your claws, in the pads of your feet. And this morning it has changed again. You wake beneath a stairwell that once belonged to a cobbler. The cobbler is gone now, so are his tools. Only the lingering scent of glue, leather, and something close to pipe smoke remains. The air is colder today. Not just temperature, but intention. The kind of cold that doesn't melt when the sun rises. The kind that settles in walls, tightens doors, silences birds. You sit still, your fur fluffed for insulation, listening for motion that doesn't come. A sound. Wolves. Too many of them. You peer out. Redcoats again. Not marching this time, moving with purpose, quicker, faces set. Behind them, wagons. Empty at first glance, but you smell the gunpowder, the oiled metal, the ink. They're not carrying food. They're carrying instructions. You slip into the alley, stepping around the frost-ringed prints of hurried feet. Someone dropped a child's mitten here. Pale blue, still warm. You don't touch it. Some things are too soft for days like this. You pass the bakery again, still shuttered, but the word traitor has been crossed out. Someone wrote thief over it. Then someone else wrote hero. Then someone smeared it all to gray. You imagine the rats are thriving in there now. Maybe even the bold one. You hope he's choking on rye flour. A door slams ahead. You leap onto a crate. A family spills out into the street. 2 adults, 3 children, 1 sack. The father clutches a letter. His hands shake. His face doesn't. The mother carries silence like a shield. 1 child drops a wooden toy soldier and doesn't notice. You do. You watch it spin, 1 painted eye staring upward as they vanish around the corner. One curious theory says, cities remember. That stone holds footprints. That doorways hold names. That alleyways whisper when no one's listening. You believe this, because this street has stopped whispering. Now it waits. You move through the gaps, under carts, along the eaves. You pass a tavern that once echoed with songs. Now it's boarded. The chalkboard outside still reads Stew 2C/ No one erased it. You arrive at the square. You stay to the edges. There are people gathered, but not like before. No shouting, no speeches, just quiet, tired bodies watching something, waiting for someone to do what everyone already knows will happen. A man stands on a crate. His coat is too fine, his shoes too clean, but his voice is dust and tobacco and frayed rope. He reads from a paper. You don't need to understand the words. The crowd reacts before he finishes. Some cheer. Some leave. Some look at the ground like it's betrayed them. You smell ink again, and bitterness, and something beneath it. Fear. That's grown legs. The man folds the paper, steps down, melts into the crowd. And the people? They don't argue. They move. Some to shops, some to homes, some to carriages packed days ago. You hear the same sentence, whispered 3 times in 3 different corners. They said we have until Monday. You don't know what Monday is, but it doesn't smell good. You return to the alley behind the fishmonger. A new sign hangs above the door. It says, "Closed until further notice." The fish are gone. The smell is not. You sit there until dusk, not because it's safe, but because it's familiar. As the sun falls, the wind carries a final note. Parchment, melted wax, heated metal, a decision signed and stamped and ready to be enforced. You lick your paw, you wipe your face, and just as the first snowflake lands on your nose, bell rings, not for warning, not for gathering. This one is for leaving. And you are not going anywhere, because someone has to stay. Someone has to remember the way the city smelled just before it forgot itself. You carry the letter, not in your mouth, not like a dog. You're not a fool. You carry it the only way a cat can, by returning to it, by pressing your paw to the soaked corner every few hours, by curling around it at dusk, by remembering who left it and who did not return to claim it. The letter does not smell as strongly now. Salt has taken most of it. But you remember. You've been remembering more lately. The sounds of the girl with the cat-shaped doll, the rhythm of the cobbler's limp, the smell of bread at the door that no longer exists, the boy with the crust in red hands. One curious theory says cats forget everything after 10 days, that they do not mourn, that they do not remember. You know better, because now you wake at every footstep, thinking it might be him. You check every basket left by doors, every porch corner where he might have curled. You scan the windowsills for the shape of his face. You look, not with hope, cats are not built for that, but with something quieter, something older. The harbor is louder today, not with ships, with gulls, dozens of them, hundreds, fighting over something spilled, maybe fish, maybe grain, maybe memory. You ignore them. Instead, you make your way toward the far side of town, to where the houses get smaller, to where the walls lean inward like they're tired of holding each other up. You pass a baker's sign lying in the street, just the frame. The bread painted on the front has been scratched away. You wonder if it was deliberate. You wonder who did it first, the owners or the hungry. At the edge of a fence, you find a jacket. Too small, torn, one sleeve missing. It smells like river water and time and fear. You sniff it twice, then walk away. Now take a breath. A long one. Let the wind enter your lungs. Let the city settle in your bones. You are not cold, but you are not warm either. You cross into the schoolyard. The gates creak. The snow here is cleaner. Less walked, less wept in. A single bench sits beneath a skeletal tree. You leap onto it. It moans under your weight. You are not heavy, but this wood remembers other burdens. From here you can see what's left of Boston. The square, the dock, The print shop with no light. The house with the map still in the window. A single candle burning in the attic of the tavern. That's all. And at the edge of it, a carriage, covered, not moving. Its wheels sunk slightly into the mud. No horses, just waiting. You jump down, you move toward it. No rush, cats are never rushed. But your whiskers twitch. Inside. No people, just luggage, paper, one blanket, and a letter. The same one. Your letter. It's resting on the seat, dry now, neatly folded, like someone tried to save it. You step in. The carriage smells of wood polish, stale peppermint, and old hay. Someone tried to make it comfortable. Someone failed. You curl into the corner where the seat meets the wall. It's warm there. Or maybe you are. You're not sure anymore. Outside, the wind begins to pick up. It brings with it new smells. Gunpowder fresh, not memory. Sweat from too many bodies. Titian iron sharpened. Ink spilled. You've smelled war before. This time it smells permanent. You close your eyes. You think of the boy. The crust. The mitten. The letter he didn't take with him. You think, if this is forgetting, it is not empty. It is full of everything no one wanted to carry. And just as sleep begins to reach for you, someone opens the carriage door. You do not move, because whoever it is, they already know you're here. The city has gone quiet in all the wrong ways. Not peace, not sleep, just absence. The kind that hums in corners, that folds itself into chimneys and hangs in doorways like forgotten laundry. The kind that makes your ears flick even when nothing moves. You wake slowly, stiff from the crate. The air smells like old cider and mouse droppings. You've known worse beds. You stretch, one paw at a time. Your claws catch on the edge of the apple crate. The wood is splintered. You leave a scratch that no one will notice. Outside, dawn paints the alley in a light so pale it barely counts as color. Everything looks washed, as if the city were trying to erase itself gently, kindly. You pad toward the street. No voices, no carts, just a single broken mug lying near the tavern steps. Dried foam still clings to its rim. You sniff it. It smells like last week and regrets. Pause. Feel the weight of the quiet settle on your fur. Not oppressive, just thorough. A pigeon flaps overhead, alone. Even they seem fewer now. Maybe the crumbs are gone. Maybe the danger has climbed higher into the air. You cross the street, avoiding the wet patch near the butcher's door. It still smells like iron and onions and arguments. But there's no butcher anymore. The shop sign hangs crooked. Someone tried to paint over the name but didn't finish, or changed their mind. That happens a lot lately. You round the corner and find the church square. It's emptier than it's ever been. Benches overturned. One lantern still swinging from a hook in the breeze. A single scarf, red, wool, child-sized, caught on the fence. No child in sight. You jump up beside the church door. You listen. Inside. Breathing. 2 people, maybe 3. Huddled. Not praying, just waiting. You smell fear, but also soup. Someone's still trying. You don't knock. You wouldn't be let in anyway. You turn toward the harbor. The sea is louder now, less hidden by the daily grind of carts and protests and sermons. Its voice rolls in with the morning tide, full of salt and broken promises. The ships are fewer, the docks are emptier, but something new lingers there. Soldiers. Not many, not marching, just stationed, like coins placed carefully on a board, ready to be flicked at the right moment. You stay in the shadows. One curious theory says cats can pass through walls when no one looks too closely. You've never needed to. There are always cracks. You slip through a gap in the dock and descend to the lower planks. It's slick here, smells of fish oil and thyme, and underneath it all, a new scent, a letter. You find it tucked behind a barrel, folded, tied in string. It's soaked but not ruined, ink smudged but legible. If you could read, you can, but you recognize the scent. The boy. The one with one shoe and a pocket crossed. This letter was his? You press your nose to the corner. The smell is faint, faded by salt and worry, but it's there. You look around, no sign of him, just waves, and wind, and a cat-shaped space in the silence. You sit, you wait, and in the distance, across the harbor, bells begin again. Not the heavy kind, not orders, not summons. These bells are thin, hesitant, a village kind of sound, far enough to not belong to Boston, close enough to reach her bones. You listen, and for a moment it almost feels like something new. Not peace, but maybe pause. You breathe it in, seaweed, old rope, ink, boy, and you think, if history is being written today, you're sitting in the margin, watching the ink dry, and just as your eyes begin to close, a single voice calls out behind you, "Has anyone seen the cat?" You freeze. You listen. You wait. But there's no follow-up, no answer. Just footsteps fading, the door slamming shut, and the letter still resting beneath your paw. You carry the letter, but in your mouth, not like a dog. You're not a fool. You carry it the only way a cat can, by returning to it, by pressing your paw to the soaked corner every few hours, by curling around it at dusk, by remembering who left it and who did not return to claim it. The letter does not smell as strongly now. Salt has taken most of it. But you remember. You've been remembering more lately. The sounds of the girl with the cat-shaped doll, the rhythm of the cobbler's limp, the smell of bread at the door that no longer exists, the boy with the crust and red hands. One curious theory says cats forget everything after 10 days, that they do not mourn, that they do not remember. You know better, because now you wake at every footstep, thinking it might be him. You check every basket left by doors, every porch corner where he might have curled. You scan the windowsills for the shape of his face. You look, not with hope. Cats are not built for that, but with something quieter, something older. The harbor is louder today, not with ships, with gulls. Dozens of them, hundreds, fighting over something spilled, maybe fish, maybe grain, maybe memory. You ignore them. Instead, you make your way toward the far side of town, to where the houses get smaller, to where the walls lean inward like they're tired of holding each other up. You pass a baker's sign lying in the street, just the frame. The bread painted on the front has been scratched away. You wonder if it was deliberate. You wonder who did it first, the owners or the hungry. At the edge of a fence, you find a jacket. Too small, torn, one sleeve missing. It smells like river water and time and fear. You sniff it twice, then walk away. Now take a breath, a long one. Let the wind enter your lungs. Let the city settle in your bones. You are not cold, but you are not warm either. You cross into the schoolyard. The gates creak. The snow here is cleaner, less walked, less wept in. A single bench sits beneath a skeletal tree. You leap onto it. It moans under your weight. You are not heavy, but this wood remembers other burdens. From here you can see what's left of Boston. The square. The dock. The print shop with no light. The house with the map still in the window. A single candle burning in the attic of the tavern. That's all. And at the edge of it, a carriage, covered, not moving, its wheels sunk slightly into the mud, no horses, just waiting. You jump down, you move toward it. No rush. Cats are never rushed. But your whiskers twitch. Inside, no people, just luggage, paper, one blanket, and the letter. The same one. Your letter. It's resting on the seat, dry now, neatly folded, like someone tried to save it. You step in. The carriage smells of wood polish, stale peppermint, and old hay. Someone tried to make it comfortable, someone failed. You curl into the corner where the seat meets the wall. It's warm there. Or maybe you are. You're not sure anymore. Outside, the wind begins to pick up. It brings with it new smells. Gunpowder fresh, not memory. Sweat from too many bodies. Iron sharpened. Ink spilt. You've smelled war before. This time it smells permanent. You close your eyes. You think of the boy, the crust, the mitten, the letter he didn't take with him. You think, if this is forgetting, it is not empty. It is full of everything no one wanted to carry. And just as sleep begins to reach for you, someone opens the carriage door. You do not move, because whoever it is, they already know you're here. The door opens slowly. No rush, no surprise. Just the quiet creak of wood swollen with weather and time. You do not startle. You do not run. You lift your head and blink once. Deliberate, slow, polite. A hand reaches in. Small, bare, familiar. The boy. He doesn't speak, just stands in the open doorway, coat too thin, cheeks flushed from cold or grief or something older. His eyes flicker toward you, then away, like he's checking to see if you're real, or if he imagined you in better times. You do not move. Not yet. He steps inside, closes the door behind him. Now you smell him fully again. That mix of dried apples, old smoke, and salt. But something's changed. There's no hunger in him anymore. No searching. Just a kind of quiet. He sits across from you. The carriage doesn't shift beneath him. He's too light. In his lap, the letter. Folded and unfolded too many times, the corners soft now, nearly worn away. He presses it flat again, runs his fingers over the ink. You hear the paper sigh. He says, "They left last night." You tilt your head. He doesn't explain who they are. He doesn't have to. He adds, "I stayed Because I thought you might still be here. You watch his breath fog the air between you. Now breathe. Let it settle in your chest like wool. Let the silence fill the corners the way steam fills cracks. He reaches into his pocket, pulls out a crust, old again, stale, his last, you're sure of it. He breaks it in half, places your share gently on the seat beside you. You move, not quickly, not dramatically. You step forward with all the weight of history in your paws. You eat the crust in 3 chews. It tastes like dust and memory and something close to trust. He smiles, not fully, just the edges, like someone practicing. Outside, the wind kicks up, the carriage rocks, a lantern swings on the post just beyond the window, casting shadows that move like thoughts. He says, I think it's really starting now. You don't know what it is. Revolution? Abandonment? Spring? But you nod anyway. One curious theory says cats only stay where they're needed, that when they vanish it means their work is done. You're still here, which must mean something still needs watching. He leans his head against the window, eyes half closed, breathing slow. You curl beside him, not touching, but close enough. He whispers, do you think it will end soon? You flick an ear, nodded answer, just to remind the world you're listening. The candle in the tavern attic flickers out. The carriage creaks. Somewhere far off, a musket fires, sharp, clean, certain. But here, inside this wooden box of breath and paper and pause, nothing moves. Not yet. The boy sleeps. You don't, because someone has to keep watch. And just as the first snow begins to fall again, light, dry, too tired to settle, you close one eye, only one, because this story isn't done. And tomorrow might need a witness. The boy dreams. You can tell by the way his fingers twitch, by the way his breath catches and drifts. It's not a deep sleep, not a peaceful one, just enough to escape the cold, just enough to be somewhere else for a while. You stay still. The floor of the carriage groans beneath you as the wind shifts again, pushing against its sides, like a breath trying to blow the city away. You press your body closer to the wooden seat. It's not warm, but it's not cold either. Outside, Boston does not sleep. It moves like a creature licking its wounds. Quiet streets, flickering lamps, distant boots walking patterns into the dirt. You hear a cart roll by, no horse, just wheels and resolve. A woman's voice somewhere says, they're coming from the west. Someone else answers, let them. You don't know who they are anymore. You don't think the humans do either. The letter lies between you and the boy, unfolded once again. The ink has faded. It smells like wax and fabric and the tip of a quill pressed too hard by a hand trying not to shake. You've stopped wondering what it says. Whatever it was meant to do, it hasn't done it. But it stayed. And so did you. You clean your pole, slowly, thoroughly. The gesture isn't for cleanliness, it's for rhythm. It's for remembering what normal used to taste like. Dust, dried mint, boot polish. The boy stirs. He doesn't open his eyes. He whispers, "They said the city was ours." Then, quieter, but no one stayed. You blink, not out of judgment, just acknowledgement. He's right. One curious theory says, history is shaped not by those who shout, but by those who notice. You've noticed everything. You noticed when the bells rang out of time. You noticed when the bread crusts got thinner, when the soup line grew longer, when the same boots started walking heavier. You noticed when people started folding instead of standing. And now you notice that the fog has lifted, just a little, enough to reveal the edge of the harbor where 3 ships sit motionless in the gray light. You've seen them before. They brought the tea. Now they wait like monuments. Nothing stirs on deck. The city holds its breath. You stretch, step down from the seat and perch beside the boy's boots. One has a broken lace, the other is stuffed with cloth. You nudge the hem of his coat. He shifts in his sleep, but doesn't wake. You step toward the carriage door, push it open with your shoulder. Side, the frost cracks beneath your paws. Boston smells like decision now. Not violence, not yet, but something more final. Something being sealed. The air carries no scent of fish, no bread. Just paper, charcoal, leather, ink. You climb to the top of the carriage. From here, the city looks like memory. Not quite whole, not quite gone. You see windows boarded with care, flags left limp on the poles, smoke trailing from a single chimney like someone whispering a story to themselves. And for a moment, you don't move, because you realize something. You've outlived the noise, the silence that's coming. It belongs to you now. So you sit, you watch, and just as the sun pushes a single sliver of light across the rooftops, the boy stirs below you, voice scratchy with sleep. He says, "Are you still there?" You don't answer, but you don't leave either. And that is answer enough. There's a kind of silence that doesn't settle. It hovers. It lingers in the joints of buildings and behind the knots in wooden doors. It hums just beyond the reach of your ears. And Boston now is full of it. You sit atop the carriage. The roof is cold beneath your paws. The boy is still asleep inside, curled like a comma left dangling at the end of a sentence. You are the period. The wind has quieted, not stilled, just softened. It moves through the streets like someone remembering a tune without words. You listen. You always do. From this high place, the city no longer feels large, just empty in the shape of what once was. The tavern with the cold hearth, the church with no bell, the alley with the missing mitten, the window where the doll used to watch. Everything has thinned, not vanished, just thinned. One curious theory says cats are creatures of thresholds, doorways, windowsills, between war and peace, between sleep and waking. You believe this now. You walk slowly across the roof of the carriage and leap to the ground. The snow crunches like broken paper beneath you. The sun, pale and indecisive, casts your shadow crooked. You pass the church square again. No one is there, but the echo of crowds still clings to the stones. You hear them if you close your eyes. Shouts, chants, bells, laughter that sounded like bravery, fear dressed up as speeches. But when you open your eyes, it's only pigeons. Even they don't fly far anymore. You follow the smell of something familiar, salt, rust, wet wood. The harbor, the ships are still there, now half swallowed by fog, their masts like ribs, their flags damp and dull. You climb the post where crates used to be stacked. It smells of rope and fish and all the things that don't happen here anymore. You sit, you wait, you remember. You remember the night of the tea, the crying man with the ledgers, the girl with the doll, the boy with the crust, the letter. The letter is still in the carriage, and the boy is still inside, sleeping, or pretending to. The ship bells don't ring anymore. No one calls all aboard. No one sings sea songs. But the sea still moves. It's not waiting for anyone. It never was. And still, you stay. You return to the carriage before nightfall. The boy is awake now. He looks at you. You look at him. He says, "It's really quiet now." You jump into the seat beside him. He doesn't offer food. You don't ask for any. You both just sit, listening to the kind of silence that only two things can share. Those who have seen too much, and those who stayed anyway. He says, "Will you come with me when I leave?" You don't answer, because cats don't belong to anyone. But you rest your head against his leg, because sometimes not leaving is the closest thing to love. The candlelight fades from the tavern attic. A final chimney goes cold. A door closes 2 streets away. You breathe in, and the city breathes out. And somewhere in the distance, not loudly, not clearly, but just enough, a new bell rings, not for war, not for mourning, not even for history, just for mourning. You close your eyes because you've seen the rest. And now you can finally sleep